Hello guys, and welcome to another interview. I actually have the honor to interview this young man here for the first time. How are you doing? All good?
Very good. It's nice to be interviewed by you after talking so much to you at IEM.
Okay, so I think we're gonna dive deep in right this second. So this split has been quite interesting, I would say, with like a few teams standing out. For you, what's like the most impressive thing that stood out from like all the teams, or maybe like in a positive or negative way, in any way?
I'll do two. So the most positive thing in my mind was H2K and G2. I think H2K were very impressive in the way they had a complete roster overhaul, but probably still able to maintain a macro level play and like really good map play. Really just a good testament to the support staff and to his coaching. Another positive is just G2's ability to play well. I really did not know what to expect from them with the roster swaps coming in. And then I think the obvious one, the disappointment, is Origin. They made a change on paper that should have been really good. Power of Evil brought a lot that maybe Peke wasn't, but you just lost something magical that Peke bound the team together. So I'm still expecting more from Origin.
Okay, so I think the playoff seats are not the seats, but the playoff teams are kind of locked in, and the bottom four is also set. Do you expect that those teams to be like in the top four and bottom four and top six, or are there any surprises maybe?
I actually think the top six, bottom four is exactly as predicted. Going into week one, we had some strong opinions in terms of which teams are going to do well and which teams weren't, and those have proven true. The only thing that's been surprising is the seeding. You know, I expected H2K to be at the top, but I thought Fnatic and Origin were going to be with them, especially looking at IEM Cologne for Fnatic. Seeing those two down at the bottom, I also think Unicorns of Love, they overperformed for 3 or 4 weeks right at the beginning. So there was some surprises in terms of how those six seeded, but truthfully, it is what we anticipated.
I saw rather that you guys covered a bit of challenger scene. Do you want to talk about those two teams that come into the promotion tournament next week? Maybe, next week. Yeah. Do you think they have a shot, or maybe you think one team is just gonna go into LCS? Like, what's your general take on those champion teams, and in relation to like the strength?
So I've actually been fortunate enough because I help out on the production side of Challenger, so I've watched them all split long, and seeing Huma and Copenhagen Wolves qualify actually really surprised me because both of their opponents technically were stronger teams but had slightly weaker players, and it turned out when you come to LAN, the stronger players showed up. Do I think the teams can qualify? Yes, I actually think they can. I think the best of 5 format, plus the fact that once you get past the first round, it's double elim, means that teams like Giants and Rocket, I think, are going to struggle. I think this is a team that has had a split of really mentally taxing games, and these hungry teams that want to be in the LCS of Huma and Copenhagen Wolves are going to bring that ambition to take them down, and I genuinely think those are the two teams that I'm expecting. Whether or not Splice or Elements make it into promo, at the moment it's looking like it's going to be Splice. I think they're more likely to requalify.
Okay, talking about playoffs maybe, who's the team that maybe has like the highest chance of winning? Because I think right now we can agree that there's like a top 3 right now probably with H2K, Vitality and G2. What team is gonna win? Like, who has like the best chances on paper?
I hate this question. Okay, so best chance on paper, I think H2K is the better, well-rounded team. I think if Vitality show up on the day, they can be the best team in Europe, but their players are still just a little inconsistent and a little hot-headed, where I don't feel that from H2K. And G2, I think they can surprise. I think G2 are the dark horses where they've kind of got a mixture of both. They can be tactical, they can be hot-headed. So if I were to rate it, H2K 1, G2 second, Vitality third. That's my expectation in terms of who's likely to win Spring Split.
Okay, bold prediction. I like it. Just talking about the game a bit, I mean, you're like talking about the game for like 80, 90 hours a week, you know. Do you like the game currently as like a spectator? Like, do you like watching the games, or what's your general take on the meta maybe? Because I know there are like funny complaints about, lane swap is boring, you know, 15 minutes of the same scripted things, and then maybe death timers are a bit too long. What's your general take on that whole thing?
So, 2 different topics. I'm going to do the easy one first. Death timers being too long, I think, is a weak excuse. I think at 35 minutes of gameplay, if you make a monumental error and lose a team fight 4v1, then yes, you know, you're that late in the game, it should end. Maybe earlier in the game, around 20 to 25 minutes, you can have a better argument. In terms of the lane swaps, I actually quite like the lane swap meta game because it is very strategic, because there is an element of team understanding that truly we've not actually seen as clearly in the past. We've always made these things, this team is so good at macro, this team is so good at strategy, but we've never really been able to prove it, especially as a shoutcaster. So now the lane swap stuff is actually helping me in that regard, but I do agree it's a slower pace than I would like. If teams would be more willing to tower dive, or if teams would be more willing to try to defend a tower, that's the one thing I'd like to personally see, especially as a play-by-play guy, seeing some of those action plays, seeing some of those aggressive moves to take control. That's what I'd like to see implemented, and hopefully we can see teams making it happen.
I hope so too. Of course, last question right now. Reflecting back on everything, your whole career casting, what was your favorite moment or maybe game to cast? Like, what's your, like your moment that you will always remember?
There's not even a question. For me, it was Fnatic versus SKT at MSI last year. It was my first international event shoutcasting in about 2.5 years because I'd been doing a lot of analyst desk work, and I got to do Fnatic. I had also had the pleasure of shoutcasting Fnatic in the finals against UOL, so like I got all these games. And then Kobe and Monte Cristo were my co-casters. And I just remember the entire series long ragging on both of them about like EU, this team that was like, unquestioned, they barely made it out of groups. They were showing up like, it was the first time that a Western team had truly gone toe-to-toe with a Korean team in maybe 3 years. Like, it was such a long time. So that's my personal favorite, and I can still remember the looks on Monty and Kobe's faces when it went to 5 games.
All right, fair enough. Short follow-up. Do you think a Western team is going to challenge anyone at MSI? The Korean team?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. I think if you look at the top of the table teams at NA and EU LCS, I think they have significantly more going for them than what we saw out of Fnatic, Origin, TSM, CLG at IEM. So I reckon that the guys that win the splits will put up a better fight.
All right, guys, you heard it. Very awesome to have you finally here on the theScore eSports interview. And if you want to check out more interviews, we have them over at theScore eSports. Make sure to follow our Twitter account, our website. We also have a new app, in case you didn't know. And yeah, we see us next time in the other interviews. Thank you so much for watching.